Well, hello. Welcome to our live Thursday show. This is the Kickoff. I'm just looking in the chat. I am thrilled to be back with you weekly. It has been a minute, hasn't it? We kind of wrapped up late last, May-ish, if I recall. Took a bit of a break for the summer, weddings, all the traveling, all the things that happen. But I'm looking forward to being with you weekly. A huge part of the reason why we moved the show to Thursday is because if you were a part of those lives earlier this year, you know that on Wednesdays, I had a board meeting to go to on the second Wednesday of every month. So we always had to take a break. And now we actually have a cleaning person who comes over on Wednesdays every couple of weeks. And I was just like, okay, Wednesdays are turning into a bit of a minefield. I want to be here every week. And so that is why we are now on Thursdays. My schedule is clear. Nothing is interfering, except for, of course, I'm going to say it, when I'll be at Wedding MBA in Vegas the second week in November with so many of you, though. So it'll be kind of like in person. Maybe some of us won't be prepping for weddings that week, although I do know a number of you, when we are at Wedding MBA, say, I got to get back because I got a wedding this Saturday. Hey, officiants got to officiate. I absolutely love it. I live diagonally as far away from Vegas as you can get here in New Brunswick, Canada, just north of Maine. And I am thrilled to be here with you today. And you know what? A lot of it is by popular demand, I got to say, and that's incredibly humbling for me. Now, I am not under the illusion that a lot of the reason why people wanted me to go live again was because of me and my mouth and all the things that I like to say here. It was mostly when I heard people saying, when can you go live again? Because I miss the community in the chat. I miss being able to connect with all the fellow officiants all over the place. And I absolutely love that. So again, I am under no illusion that you are here mostly for me. I love that it is a weekly community that, hey, maybe you have to go to a board meeting. Maybe your cleaning person is preventing you from coming on here. But you know that you can come here at noon Eastern on Thursdays. And I will be here, barring some sort of personal illness or something like that. So I'm looking forward to doing this over the next few months. And it's going to feel more like office hours have been for members, in the sense that I get tons of questions every week on email, in my DMs, on YouTube comments. Just so many of you who are officiating for the first time or going pro, or we're all in a different place in this amazing officiating journey. And I do get questions. Hey, Mark, what are your thoughts on this? What is your advice on that? Not because I am the great and powerful all-knowing, but because I have experience, over 10 years of officiating and, doing Unboring weddings since 2017. And knowing so many of you. And so I just thought, I answer these questions a lot. When I was thinking about, restarting the show and looking back at my lives, the questions of the week in 2024, 23, 24, and then the topical show that I did last year on Wednesdays, I was just feeling like I've covered a lot. Like I feel like I have formally presented on YouTube just about everything that there is to present. And of course, I have my course that so many of you are a member of. And whenever I say a member of Unboring Wedding, I mean someone who has purchased the course and is inside the course as a lifetime member and gets to go to the coaching and things like that. And that's where I was saying the coaching now for the course is going to be on Zoom. We haven't done that before. It's been in this format for members only. And so, taking questions and answering and things like that. And that's where I decided, what if we take that kind of format where I'm answering the questions that I get all week from members and non-members alike, and just kind of sit here and workshop things. We can get as specific or as general as you want. We can talk about the business side. We can talk about your script coming up this weekend, something you're trepidatious about. Use the wisdom of the incredible members and other experienced people in the chat. And then office hours for members only is going to be, and we're trying this out, is going to be on Zoom, where, if you've been on a Zoom call, we can see each other's faces. You can jump in, you can chat. And so there'll be more screen to screen interaction there. But for here, if you are not logged in, please log into YouTube through your Google account, and then you will be able to comment in the chat, get your questions in. This is weekly wedding prep, whether you want to talk about a wedding you had last week and said, hey, did I handle this right? Something weird happened. What if it happens again? Or, hey, in 2 days, I got to deliver this wedding. What do you think of this? Or tomorrow's the rehearsal. I'm a bit worried about this. And again, it could be about your business or any of that. So that is what we're going to cover here. We're going to keep it to an hour or less, just so you know. It's kind of like a lunch hour for those on the East Coast. Here I'm in Atlantic time, so I've had my protein shake already. Now I got my cup of coffee here, my afternoon coffee to fuel me a little bit. And of course, if you are on the West Coast, good morning. Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey. And we are thrilled that you can join us here today. So many people, I'm laughing because I see Ben saying drink, and I know what that refers to. If you are joining us for the first time, I do talk about Wedding MBA a lot. That is the largest wedding show on the continent. It is in Las Vegas. It is coming up in November. You can go to weddingmba.com, buy tickets using the code MARK. Unboring Wedding is the sponsor for the Officiant track this year, so I'm thrilled for that. Members of Unboring Wedding Academy, I am trying to lock down reservations at Fresco Italiano so we can have dinner together. It is an amazing time and an opportunity to meet so many of you face to face, some of you who I've been journeying with for years, and it has been a thrill of this professional venture to meet so many of you in person. We all get together and chew the fat and talk and just hang out in person in Vegas. That's happening next month. I bought my plane tickets yesterday, so it's starting to feel real. I've put money down. I was scoping. I do the Google flight thing, the track. I check several times a week. Tickets went as low as I've seen, and so bang, I bought them. And then I love this. I checked today, and they're back up. That always feels good. You feel like I bought on the day because of all my waiting and the weeds and my research, and I got the cheapest possible tickets. I encourage you to do the same if you need to take a flight to Vegas or anywhere else upcoming. Just kind of like scope it out for a while. I have 5 preloaded questions today, so we should get right to it. Questions that have been sent to me. I did ask, hey, if you got a question, mark at unboringweddingacademy.com for the show. Then just do so. And I did get an email, got some YouTube comments. You'll see one there from Francine. I got my questions here written down on the screen. I will be pinning your comments in the chat as well, your questions as I see them. But I just want to say hello to those of you who tagged the wall early. I know Jane is here. Ben is here. Francine, thank you for your question. Ben's got a big wedding coming up. This is my wedding with 20 VIPs, 25 in the wedding processional, 3 dogs, 5 kids, a wagon pulled by one of the said dogs, and 1 missing mother-in-law. I guess biological mother would freak. Okay, lots going on, Ben. You are the consummate professional. We have had Ben on as a guest of the show last year as well, so check out his episode, and you'll know. I have every faith in you, but, we still get somewhat rattled sometimes as wedding officiants, right, Ben? You got this. Jane is here from North Carolina. Good to see you, Jane, and I hope I get to see you in Vegas and shout your name when I see you. Another little inside joke there with Jane. Ben asks a question here, a sneak peeky, and I wonder if some of you answered this. Feel free. And whenever I throw a question up, feel free to pile on in the chat. What are some of your most favorite places to do weddings? Mine is a very pragmatic answer, Ben, and it is this. It is a wedding venue that has a great outdoor option for the outdoor ceremonies and a wonderful plan B indoor option. I tell you, some venues are paradise outdoors, but oh my land, if it rains, then you're really, really in trouble because, you have to go inside and do the ceremony in a broom closet. That is really not ideal. So I'm going to say the Algonquin Resort in St. Andrews by the Sea, 20 minutes from my house. And man, I love, when I have a wedding rehearsal for every ceremony I officiate. When it's a nice Friday, I jump on my motorcycle and I roll into the Algonquin, which has this like luxury resort feel in a very small town of like 1,000. So if the hotel is full, essentially you have doubled the population of the town of St. Andrews, which is kind of our sister city. I live in St. Stephen, New Brunswick. St. Andrews, New Brunswick, like I say, is 20, 25 minutes away. Deer roam throughout town. It's very historic. It's got a wharf waterfront and this beautiful luxury resort up on the hillside. Fun fact, it's where Stephen King visited because he lives in northern Maine, and he kind of got the inspiration for The Shining from this beautiful building. I'm not going to say it's creepy, but I see how it could have been 50 years ago. But now it's absolutely stunning. I officiate loads of weddings there. The indoor plan, the outside, there's a rooftop patio, there's a pavilion, there's a garden, there's multiple places on the grounds to have a beautiful wedding ceremony outside. But we have had the odd hurricane come up the East Coast, and then we just have it inside in the pavilion or in the ballroom or in one of the separate outbuildings. Everything there is beautiful and luxurious. And the events manager, Kate, is an absolute dream to work with. And man, when you combine a great venue like that with staff that are attentive and detail oriented and client focused and care about their vendors, and by care about, I also mean like if I'm running behind, she'll phone me if she doesn't see me at the ceremony space or the rehearsal, including the time where I was 2 hours away driving somewhere, and she phoned me and said, "Hey, why aren't you at the rehearsal?" And I said, "Kate, it's tomorrow." She says, "No, it's today." And I said, "Well, I certainly didn't find out about that." So somehow the couple had told her, but not me. And just an example of like where she rang me up and said, "Where are you?" And that would be true of the wedding day. When you have a venue that it has an indoor option, an outdoor option, and a great coordinator, that is the dream for us officiants. So that's how I would answer that, Ben. I wonder how other wonderful members here would answer that. If you are running a venue, hey, consider it. That's why I answered the way I did. And if you're a venue owner here today popping in, that is what it takes to be absolutely excellent and be recommended. Because here I am blathering about the Algonquin Resort in St. Andrews by the Sea to the entire World Wide Web. Elaine, good to see you. Getting autumnal. Yes, it is here in New Brunswick as well. Good to see you. Jerry, good morning from Electric City. Jane says it's in the 70s and 50s. Yeah, it's quite cold at night. We woke up to 3 degrees this morning. My wife goes running every morning at 6 a.m. I go a little later after the kids go off to school. I ran today. I got about 5 more degrees on her. So it was about 8 or 9 by the time I did my run. But it is getting crispy here. Pascal from Montreal, absolutely love it. Hello, my fellow Canadian. Bonjour, mon ami. Your wedding is coming up next week, the 12th. I know you are a member of Unboring Wedding Academy, so you are going to crush it. You're following the style. You're following the system. I'm absolutely so excited for you. Mike is here. Thanks for waiting for me. Let's begin. Amazing. Yes, we were just waiting for you. Bob is here from Austin. Good to see you. And Tamara from Roscoe. Mike, wedding at 4:30 this afternoon, followed by a rehearsal at 6. Wow, and they are next door to one another. Win. You are crushing it, Mike. It's been amazing to be on the journey with you. You're also a member of Unboring Wedding Academy and one of our unofficial testers of Officiantly, our software, one of our official testers of the new AI. And so, Mike, you are absolutely crushing it. Amazing. Jane says, my cleaning person is busy as we speak. Okay, well, it's good that you're not hosting this thing. It's a bit complicated if our cleaning person were vacuuming under my feet here while I was trying to conduct this. Norman, good to see you. Wed by Norm, absolutely wonderful to see you here. You are the man. You are a big deal. When I saw you at Wedding MBA, I was like, oh my gosh, Norm. We kind of had a like, you're the man moment. So Norm, I love that you're here. Patty is here. Patricia, good to see you in Georgia. Big wedding yesterday, 2 more tomorrow, then 1 more Saturday. You officiants, you pros are absolutely crushing it. And hey, Pascal, look what you've got ahead of you. if Quebec lets you do it, I'm wondering what's the legality of officiating in Quebec again? How's that going? First time visitor, good to see you. Greetings, KSL. Absolutely love it. JP from Albuquerque, and Scott. Scott is one of the people who was saying, hey, come on now. When are we going live again? Scott, glad to see you're here after turning the screws. It's not too late to consider going to Wedding MBA? No, it is not. Again, go purchase your ticket. Use code MARK at checkout. You will get the biggest discount you can. And I'd love to see you there because you got all the things. Scott's got Academy. Scott's got the pro course. Scott's got our website through us, and Scott is like a rocket, absolutely diving into the joy of officiating. Ben, you like my answer? Hey, I'm thrilled to hear it. It's the best answer I could think of for a wedding venue. Ava's here. It's been a while. Yeah, today is sunny and gorgeous in Connecticut. Jimmy is here. Amazing. Pascal's already sweating. You got this, man. And a long time, uber busy summer, retired from B&B, but look forward to opening the wedding venue at end of Avenue Manor, full steam next year. That's amazing. So you're retired from B&B, but you look forward to opening a wedding venue. My goodness, that is amazing. Do you mean as an officiant, or do you mean as like you're the proprietor of a wedding venue, or both? Because I know you're an officiant. So that is really cool. And it's interesting how I just said, hey, have a great indoor option, have a great outdoor option, and absolutely pamper your guests, cater to their every need, and serve the other vendors who are serving on site, and you will be a success because word spreads. People talk about how they absolutely love the experience of a wedding. I have worked at the opposite, friends. I remember I officiated a venue and the owner came out and he started berating the wedding parties about cigarette butts on the grounds and where they should or should not park their car and how the destruction of property happens, and it's not. And he just kind of walked around fuming all the time. And I remember that, no surprise, this was about 5 years ago when I came to New Brunswick. Within a year and a half, that venue was closed. It was an absolutely gorgeous kind of orchard property in the hills. And I could not believe how this owner acted like he hated the fact that he rented his venue, that the venue survived on people having to show up and do their dang wedding on his property. It was unreal to watch. And of course, then wedding planners stopped recommending the place. I told people I knew, like, stay away from there. It's awful. You shouldn't feel terrible about being a guest on a property that, your couple spent thousands of dollars to be on. And so the opposite is true, and the opposite is true. Tom says, lovely weather on Long Island, New York, and through the weekend. Amazing. Good to see you. Yes. Okay. Rhonda, you are officiant and proprietor. That is super exciting. If you go to Wedding MBA, you'd really be torn because there's a venue track and there's an officiant track. And so that is really cool. I look forward to tracking with you throughout that journey. Amazing. Question, has anyone here used GigSalad to book weddings as an officiant? All right, I haven't, Jimmy, but feel free. That's what we're here for. Anybody use GigSalad? Jimmy's asking. Jack is here and says, your program is awesome. I think I saw all your YouTube videos. That's amazing. Good to hear. Yeah, the YouTube videos are a lot. The program, which comes with Officiantly Unboring Wedding Academy, of course, is kind of the chronological ABC. You can see here, if I just throw this up, I've got Officiantly queued up for a question later. But really, this is for the wedding I have coming up this weekend. You got your wedding workshop, and the course kind of trains with videos this sequence, this 9 steps. You do your wedding workshop, then you create your ceremony draft, then you ask your couple the questions, you see their responses, then you ask the friends and family the questions, and you see their responses. From those, you create and cast the story, then you finish that, you write your entire speech in one place, then you import that into the final wedding script, and you export that when you speak. We designed this for the training. We designed this. The training accommodates this process. This process, of course, is the one that makes the most sense. And so that is the way it's designed. I want to make this as easy as possible, not just for you. I mean, you're seeing here how officiants have, 2 today, 1 tomorrow, and then 3 at the set. It's just, how can we manage all these weddings? I want you to be able to do the most number of weddings you can with the least amount of admin and juggling and confusion. And we're always working to make that process as easy as possible for you. Anita, good to see you. Absolutely awesome. Rhonda says, I use it as a pro musician. Okay, so she's talking about this program that Jimmy is asking. Okay, so Mark, what is the purple tag with the crown and number next to some names? Purple crown. And I don't see those, but maybe that's like people who comment a lot on YouTube. I'm in a separate Restream interface here, so I'm not absolutely sure what you're seeing, Jerry. But maybe I don't know if anybody's worthy of a purple crown and a number. It's you, so I'm not sure why you wouldn't have that, and other people would. Maybe somebody can answer, Jerry, because again, I'm not in the YouTube interface quite the same way. And yes, Sabrina, you made it. Good to see you here. Amazing how many of you were in the live on Tuesday, wedding members only office hours. We have that on the last Tuesday of every month. Like I said, we're going to move that more to a Zoom cafe hangout format. But I'm glad to see you here again, Sabrina, so many of you. So I have a few questions to answer. And again, if I see your questions, I think it has to do with chat interactions as well. Just keep chatting away. Do as much chatting as you can, sir, Jerry, and maybe maybe you too will get a purple crown and a number. The coveted purple crown and number. We don't know what it is, but we want it. We know we want it. Francine asked on YouTube a really interesting question. She said she has a formal wedding coming up with a prayer, and her question just said, "Is there anything I should or should not do?" Now, anytime a couple asks for really anything, but I'm going to say a prayer, the prayer, my goodness, anytime you add religion, again, I've done a show about adding religion in the ceremony here. I can tell you how I broach that conversation with my couple. Of course, it's in the wedding workshop. So I would preface this whole question with the assumption that how did you find out? And I know some of you, I'm interrupting myself, a bad habit. I know some of you, may be inclined to, when you get a couple that books you, you just kind of say, here's a PDF of the standard. And I'm saying this because I'm talking to officiants publicly here. I know a member of Unboring Wedding Academy would never do this because I've talked about how a wedding workshop with your couple, although it is a little bit more inconvenient to sit down with them either in person or on video and have a 1-hour ceremony planning session, can't we just dispense with that? You could, but then all the loose ends that are going to pile up farther down the process really do make you wish. And hey, I was early on in my officiating, I kind of was floundering about trying to figure out the most efficient. I am all about efficiency. And so there's nothing in my process that is not the most efficient. However, I had a mentor once tell me it applies to so many things. He happened to be a minister, and he said, Mark, never choose the most expedient path because somebody gets hurt, you get hurt. Expediency is not all it's cracked up to be. Sometimes you've got to do the work. I do see a lot of this with AI now. People just, what's the quickest? What's the fastest? And then you realize it starts coming undone farther down the line. Sitting and having your wedding workshop with your couple, there's no substitute for that. And so I'm going to assume that you talked to them and they told you they want a prayer in the wedding ceremony, and that's how you found out, Francine. But I'm not entirely sure of your process. So you've been asked to do a prayer. A prayer can be a bit of a spicy meatball in the sense of you're dealing with religion, you're dealing with family ritual. I know some officiants say, I will not do prayers, I will not add any religious elements to the ceremony. That is an officiant preference for sure. I know many of us are comfortable with it. So how do you get it right? Well, again, you always need to defer to your couple. On my YouTube channel recently, I produced a video. Yes, that's what I was doing this summer when I wasn't doing lives. I was producing videos for my YouTube channel. And this one is about what to share with your couple and what not to share with your couple. I say don't share the story, but share everything else. So coming out of the wedding workshop, and I can show you just inefficiently what that looks like. This is what my couple, Sarah and Dennis, their wedding is this weekend, the 4th. In the ceremony script draft, I can show you this and I can show the internet this because they have signed off on this. They are seeing all the stuff here. Let me just collapse all the sections. You got the ceremony, you got the officiant checks, ceremony notes, pre-ceremony checks, anything that's in their ceremony, their vows, their exchange of rings, the pronouncement, the kiss, they can see absolutely everything. I asked them to sign off on this. They are saying their own vows. So here's all the stage directions around it. But if I were to be doing a prayer, I would add a prayer into this section. And we can ask AI here to do that right here and just say, please insert a prayer into the ceremony. It'll make it a major heading. And then you can write your prayer or have AI help you write your prayer. Both are fully acceptable. Francine, what I would say in terms of what should you do, you should insert it into the script. I don't like saying should. A best practice would be to insert it into the script so that they can see it and sign off on it. The same way my couple, Sarah and Dennis, are seeing everything you just saw. The speech is not in there yet. I'm going to plunk that in on Friday night after the rehearsal. But make sure they see it. Write a prayer. I would want some guidance. So in the wedding workshop, I say to the couple, it's kind of a generic ecumenical prayer. It's based on kind of the there's a you can just invoke God generally. Again, are you getting specific about a religion? I'm not sure you want to step into those waters. Some people say, well, it's a Catholic ceremony. And I would say, well, don't pretend to be a priest, but maybe you can draw on traditional Catholic prayers. I know, for the blessing, I like to use from the Hebrew Bible, may God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you. That kind of thing. Kind of, I say ecumenical, meaning like appropriate and suitable for a wide range of religious traditions. So I would say one thing that is best to do is to ask them, if you haven't yet, for any guidance around like how generic or ecumenical does this come from a specific faith tradition. Maybe they're Anglican, and then you can find a traditional Anglican wedding prayer or something like that. So figure out maybe the tradition if you haven't yet. I would say then put it in the script where they can see it and sign off on it. The only surprise that I think should be in the wedding ceremony, personally, is your speech, the love story, because they react along with it. It's so much fun. What they love about each other, what other people love about them, and your little reflection. I like the speech to be new to them so that they're engaged. The guests are watching them. Really fun stuff. So do that. I would say in terms of where to put it, I'm just going back to efficiently here. A prayer goes best, I believe, after the story. And you see, I have intent of marriage there as well, because I come out of the story with that. I'm actually going to answer a question about that coming up. And kind of leading into the vows, I like to use it to kind of set up the elements coming forward. I find that readings and prayers go best after the visceral emotional experience of the story. We're laughing, we're crying. It's beautiful, it's intense, it's so fun. And then coming out of that, you ask them if they stand here today to get married. We do. Perfect. And then you can say, please join me in a prayer for Sarah and Dennis. And bow your heads, whatever the tradition is there. That's where a prayer goes best. And then they move into the vows. A blessing is kind of a prayer light. That's not where you're speaking to providence, deity, God, however you want to say it. You are doing something more like saying, and now a blessing upon you. Like I said, may God bless you and keep you and God's face shine on you. So that I like to do right before I pronounce them, actually. That's after the vows, the exchange of rings, any unity rituals, because the blessing is so buoyant and upbeat. And so I love saying it right before I pronounce them. Sarah and Dennis, may God bless you and keep you and God's face shine upon you in your marriage and with your community all your days. And now it is my honor to present. So to pronounce you married, you may kiss. So that's kind of how that works. So the should, what is best? I'm just kind of using, is there anything you should or shouldn't do? To sum up, ask them for guidance in a specific tradition, put the prayer in so that they can read it. And then again, I would recommend saying it after your speech and before the vows and the rings as a kind of oeuvre into the more formal elements of the ceremony. In terms of what shouldn't you do, well, there's so many things that you shouldn't do, but if you stick to those, then I would say, just what you should do is not the opposite. Surprise them with a prayer from a religious tradition that they have absolutely nothing related to. That would be not really great. So, always look for your couple's guidance. And the best way to do that is to say, here's your script. What do you think? With Officiantly, what you're seeing, we send with one click of a button, the couple gets to see that kind of from the other side. They don't get to edit, but they do get to comment on items, and that's really, really important for the process for the process of the couple approving their script. And again, like everything in officiating, people have their own styles, their own comfort levels, their own reason for doing things or not. That's what I recommend. And it's never failed me yet, because that's where I believe you keep the best of all worlds. Your couple will see the prayer. They won't be unpleasantly surprised by something you're going to say. But the part that's so electrifying and unboring, I would say, is the direct guest engagement. But they do see that as well. Including my opening remarks. Let me just show you. Again, it might be small for you, but in the officiant opening remarks, you see, "Good afternoon, everyone. Are you ready to get Sarah and Dennis finally married?" I don't do the "let's try that again" in there, but here, we're going to have a wonderful time. Are you ready to get these two hitched? So that, that's right there. They get to see how I'm going to interact with their guests. Every word, really, except for the story. I find that really, really important. Okay, you get it. Any questions about that? I'm just going to scan down here. Let me see. Natalie's here from NorCal. Good to see you. Just conducted your first wedding last Saturday because of the confidence you taught me. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Thank you. The compliments you received were amazing, and many thought you were a professional officiant. Well, you're about to be, right, Natalie? You get that first one under your belt. You have the confidence. You have the confidence anyway if you're a member. And this is where, we're talking to Pascal, and he's nervous and he's sweating. But Pascal, you're going to hold on to your script like a lifeline. And there's like 1,500 plus members over the years I've been doing this that absolutely guarantee that it's a slam dunk. So have that confidence. Go in with your script, read it out, and you cannot fail. So Natalie, thrilled to hear that. Good for you. And you are on your way, and word's going to get out. I always say that. Word's going to get out about you. Sarah, good to see you here. There are 25... there are 25 people. Fan number 1 is Jane. Number 2, Pascal. Number 3. Okay, so this is interesting. So Sarah knows her YouTube chat stuff, and she's clarifying the purple with the number U2. Now, there's 50 exchanges, not 20. All right, it's changing as we go. Cool. Jane has a 5 or 6 prayers to choose from. That's really, really good. I mean, I like to put one in the script kind of by default. And like everything, I say, if you don't like it, let's swap it out. Tell me, hey, what else you got, Mark? So it's good to have options like that. But when I send the script, I just like to say, here's what I'm recommending. What do you think? I do this for Vows and that. And then, again, efficiency. Don't want to be overly expedient, but efficiency says put something in there. And then if they don't love it, they can change it. But Jane, yeah, you've got an awesome process. You're amazing. You do so much officiating, and that's great. Patty says, I always have at least one in-person meeting with your couples. If the wedding is more than 6 months from the booking date, I will do more. Wow. Okay, so that's really amazing, Patty. Good to hear from you. I just do the 1 hour workshop 4 to 6 weeks before the day. Write their script out of that, as I showed you officially. With one click, I send it to them. It says invite couple there in the top right of the screen. And then I send them again with a click their questionnaire. And I try not to do that earlier than 4 to 6 weeks before the day, because I just noticed, again, when I was cutting my teeth early on, things would get lost in the shuffle if it was too early. And it's kind of like when I send friends and family the questionnaire. If it's too early, they say, oh, great, I got 2 months to get around to this, and then they never do. Conversely, if it's too soon before the wedding, they open it and say, I don't have time for this, and then they don't get it in, and I never hear from them. So it's kind of a bit of a tightrope walk, perfect balance, as I've found. But again, Patty, you are an amazing pro who has your process, and different things work for different of us as we get comfortable and find out what works for us. And sometimes I wonder, even if different, like, parts of the world things work differently. Like, is a frozen Canadian different than a suntan Californian in terms of timelines and expectations and response rates? Perhaps. Since the discussion about sharing the story, I've been asking my couples whether they want me to share the entire script or leave out the story. Every couple has wanted the entire script. Wow. So this is where I would say and I've had people ask me this before, I sell it a little bit and I tell them how amazing it is going to be. And I do this in the wedding workshop. And I have the benefit of saying not a single couple has ever seen their story before the ceremony, not one in all my years. And it's probably because I sell it a little bit. I say, when you hear your story for the first time, of course, you know your story. You both were at your story when it happened, but you're going to send me answers. You're not going to be 100% sure what the other marrier said. I'm going to weave something fun. There'll be some surprises in there. In terms of my turn of phrase or how I gently tease out the things that happened. And then, of course, the love abouts are beautiful when they don't know what each of them has said about what they love about each other. And then friends and family, what do friends and family love about them? It is amazing when they don't know. They start to cry when they hear their friends and family. If we get a good response rate, doesn't always happen. I got to say, it's up to the response rate gods, because you just hope that you're going to get good answers back. But when you do, it is total magic. So I would say for me, Patty, and again, I totally respect that you're a consummate professional and a veteran, but I sell it a bit. I say it is going to be so fun for you. And that at the back of, when we're lined up and about to go in, I can't tell you how many couples have said, I can't wait to get up there and hear our story, because they don't know. They don't know it. They know the plot, but they don't know how I'm going to tell it. That for me is what fuels me. I'm not sure that I would love officiating as much without that dynamic, to be honest, just between you and me. Good thing we're in private here. Jack says, how can I purchase your program and what's included? www.unboringweddingacademy.com. Jack, love that you're considering it. What's included is lifetime membership, office hours, access to Officiantly for one ceremony. You will get an offer to bump there when you purchase to unlimited. You can purchase that anytime. Comes with, a lot of people have asked me for live ceremony video. There are 2 in the bonuses. They're not public, but they're 2 real couples that have offered to share their ceremony. So in the bonuses, you get that. You get scripting, you get vows, you get our DJ cue sheet. Anything that members have said over the years, I'd love to see this in the course. I'd love to see that. I mean, you get the 8 hours of video training sequentially, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But then you get, of course, Officiantly, and you get those bonuses to support it and make it better. You get access to the Facebook group. We've got almost 800 amazing members in there, always sharing ideas, loads of things. So Jack, consider it, unboringweddingacademy.com. Janice says, in my speech, should I direct the speech to the couple or the crowd? I love this question because you hit on a secret. The answer is, say it with me, members. Say it with me, fellow Unboring Wedding members. You address your speech to the guests, to the crowd. And I swear to you, I hit on this years ago, and I noticed people say, that was amazing. Why was it so amazing? Yeah, okay, the story, great, your personality, all this stuff. But when you are speaking around the couple to the guests, and I sit at wedding as a guest, I attend weddings, believe it or not, and don't always officiate. And I notice when I'm sitting there as a guest and the officiant is speaking to the couple the whole time, there is something in your head that says, this is not for me. This is for the couple, and I'm invited here to simply observe. But when the officiant starts with the opening remarks right off the bat, and it's like I showed you, are you ready to get these 2 hitched? Are you? And then here they are. They're perfect. Can I get an amen? How did they get here today? How did we all end up here today? Well, it started when Sarah swiped right, blah, blah, blah. And you move on from there. And you're speaking, your entire speech essentially is to the guests. They're on the edge of their seat. They're drawn in. It's about your couple. So you're hitting all the points. You're basically speaking to everyone in the room. And yes, I love when caterers and florists, 2 weeks ago, I had the florist stay. She's like, I don't do this, but I was so pulled in. I wanted to hear their story. Because why? I was talking to her by the way that I was addressing. So your question is so poignant, Janice. I love it. address your speech to the guest until you get to the end. And I guess I'm going to answer this question now because I've teased on it. Let me pull up Efficiently here, because you'll see this is what's preloaded. Again, this is what the couple sees. Let me skip right down to the story. This section here, you'll see, friends, how did we end up here today? This is how I talk to the couple. Sorry, this is how I introduced the story about the couple to the guests. How did we end up here? How did these two people end up meeting and falling in love? I'd like to spend the next few minutes telling you a true version of how that happened. Then the story happens. That's why it says writing in progress. This is the version that they see. And I don't want them to see the story part. But coming out of the story, this is where you turn and address the couple. Slightly before this, you say to them, you're here today to promise to each other that I will always be here for you. And so, having said all that, so just right at the end, I make a turn and I kind of reiterate to them why they're here. And then I ask them, so having said that, are you here to give yourselves to each other in marriage? You can phrase that however you'd like. That's the declaration of intent. I almost said independence, which is the opposite. I've been watching too much American politics lately. The declaration of intent is where they say we are here to, we intend to give our lives, we're here to get married. Some jurisdictions legally require that. Many don't. So, in New Brunswick, I don't have to ask that question, but I think it's great. And, some people have asked me, where does this make the most sense? Where should I put it in the ceremony? Is it the same as vows? Well, vows, no, are more specific, right? When I skip down to vows here, they are going to say their own vows to each other, but they have also asked for I do. So you see, Dennis, I say, I'm going to ask you a question. You can reply with I do. Dennis, do you take Sarah to be your wife, your life partner, all the days of your life, etc., all the days of your life? He says, I do. That's a vow. That's a promise they're making. I set up this section by saying this is the heart of the ceremony when they will say their vows to each other. But I do, the declaration of intent is, again, from a time of yore, universally, where you had to say, I am here. And some of the wording was a lot more formal. I'm here of a clear and present mind, and I offer my, I'm not under the influence, etc. I'm not being forced to do this, that kind of thing. And so that is where it comes from. I would put the declaration of intendance coming out of the declaration of intendance. I combined independence and intent there, which is something new. The declaration of intent coming out of the story. And again, if there's a prayer or reading, moving into that and then into the vows. Amazing question, Janice. Do that, and people will say, why was that? Why did I feel so a part of that ceremony? They can't put their finger on it. And it's kind of fun. It's a bit of like a Trojan horse. Oh my goodness, so good to see you, my friend. Aloha from Hawaii. Absolutely thrilled to see you here, Moe. Anita says, is it possible to divide the story between the two so they can each pre-approve their own side of the story, so then there is some element of surprise for each during the ceremony? Well, I mean, that's an interesting option. I don't really do, and the way that I design the love story caster and when I talk about it in the training, you want more of a braid. You want more of like a moment by moment, this happened, he's thinking this and she's thinking that. And you really, really want, I can't think of how disjointed that would be. So that's interesting if you write it in a certain style, but it's a style that I don't recommend. And again, the love story caster, I worked really hard to have it not do, all of Marrier A's thoughts. Meanwhile, all of Marrier B's thoughts. And then the first date comes. All of Marrier A's opinions on the first date. All of Marrier. I really want it to be more like a movie where the camera would be panning back and forth between the two and the dynamic between them. And you're not going to, even if you tried to do that, Anita, I would say answers are usually not equal. I'm just gonna say that I get couples that super short answers. I could show you inefficiently. Last week, I had very, very unbalanced answers from the couple. I believe I can show you here the couple story responses. Let's go into view. You can see here the questions here. So very short. In fact, maybe it would be better instead of responses if I go into the love story caster area. Yeah, so you can see Aaron's answers very short. Just, this is the three. I asked the question in three acts: how they met, first date, proposal. And proposal, I got some stuff, but then the bride, we met on Tinder online. That was it. Thankfully, I got a bit more from him there. The first date was a little bit more, and act three a little bit more. But this is just an example of like, and the week before that, the couple said something like, ask him, which I was a bit surprised. Let me show you here. Yeah, look, the proposal on the bride's side was just ask Ralph. Here's where it was. Thankfully, when I went in to check Ralph's answers, he really, really went into the nerve-wrackingness of asking her. But it's going to be really hard. You're not going to get, really, really equal 50-50 kind of answers. That's why it's important. When I just get, again, we met on Tinder online. The example I just showed you, I leaned into his. It started with a swipe. I love saying when I start any story, this love story begins the way all the great love stories began. I talk about this in my course. That's just a winning formula. It gets people on the edge of their seats, and then I say where it was. Now, for Tinder or something like that, I say this love story begins the way all the greatest 21st century romances begin, when somebody swipes right or something like that. So that's really fun that's kind of my go-to, and wherever it is. This love story begins the way all the great Canadian love stories began. I started my story 2 weeks ago that way. And I kind of looked at everybody, say it with me now, everyone. And some people said Tim Hortons, and I said Boston Pizza, which a lot of people in the room said Boston Pizza is a Canadian chain, ironically, despite its name. So that's really fun. And again, you're not going to get all the answers from each of them. You're going to just I completely used Aaron's answers in that case to really, really build up the story. Okay, so let's see. Patty is saying, I have tried to sell the idea of the story being a surprise, but no success. That's very strange. I'm in the deep South. Couples often change their minds about certain details being included. Yeah, I just wonder about setting them up in the workshop, saying, I'm going to send you information. I'm not going to make anything up about you. You know your story. It's really fun for you. And you hear it for the first time with your guest. They're going to respond to your reactions. You say, I'm going to keep it to those three questions, the three acts. And I wonder, keeping it really concise is really helpful as well. How did you meet? First date, proposal, and assuring them I'm not going to make stuff up about you. So there is that. Scott says, in a small ceremony, I speak directly to the couple. Yes, and I've talked to you about that, Scott. The smaller it is, the better. Really, that's the only thing I change is if there's only two witnesses, if the couple outnumbers the guests, then you want to speak to the couple. Absolutely. But your question, at what size threshold to turn your speech back to the gathering? My thoughts on the threshold typically are, I would say if it's more than if it's a couple of witnesses, I talk to the couple, and then there's typically a photographer, maybe some extended family around. Especially, I've officiated in the woods or something where there's kids running around and it's kind of like distracty. People aren't sitting down. That's another big thing. That's a criteria. If people aren't sitting, then I'm going to speak to the couple because they're going to be locked in. I've had occasions where there's maybe their siblings and their spouses and some of their kids running around. And it would feel like if I'm talking to the guests, I'd feel like, is anyone even listening to me? So I have done it where, it's a small ceremony. There's like 8 chairs or 10 chairs. This was at the Algonquin, actually, under a big tree. They put out some white folding chairs. I stood there with a couple under the tree, and they were older, so they had adult children and their partners and that kind of thing, a couple of close friends. And because they were seated and there were no children, I told the story about these two to the 10 or so, their kids, their spouses who were seated there. So I don't want to say it's a judgment call, but in the sense of, figure it out in the moment. You don't want to do that because you want to have your script written. This is where I ask the couple, tell me about your vision for this ceremony. That's why I do say continue to have the wedding workshop, even if it's an elopement, because you want to figure out what's going on. Where are they standing? what's their vision here? Oh, there'll be some folding chairs. We'll have about 10 guests. Well, then I know I'm going to talk to the guests. Oh, we're just standing by the river and there'll be some kids. And then I'm like, okay, it's like 6 or 8 people with kids included. I'm just going to address it to the couple. So think about when you're speaking, who's going to be listening. When it's a captive audience, literally sitting in chairs, captured, and they're not going anywhere until the end, then you can address it to the guests, I would say. Sabrina says, I tell the couple that if they don't want something included in the love story, don't include it in the love. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I say. And I say, if it's in there, it's kind of fair game. So there you go. Another question that I got from Julie, how to structure payment for 2027. I promised Julie I would answer this. She said, I can't make it, but I do want to mention it here. Julie said, I'm booking into 2027. How should I structure the payments? 25% booking, 25% next year, and maybe the rest the year after that. And I would just say, Julie, that is a lot of admin. That's more admin than is necessary. To me, I want my couples to commit to me with their finances, that make that financial commitment to me. Now, one thing you got to consider is, are you happy here in 2025? Are you going to be happy in 2027 with what you're charging today? Inflation aside, I talk about raising your prices by $50, $100 every year as you get more reviews, as you get more photos, as you get higher in demand. Now, sometimes we're in a tough economy. This year, friends, is a tough economy. I got to say, I'm experiencing downturns that I haven't experienced since 2017. It is unprecedented in the time since I've been in business. So I have held my pricing for couples this year because I just felt like if you get too crazy with your pricing, you're really, really narrowing your customer base. That said, you always have to think of, if I charge double, then I do half the work for the same amount of time, if you can get the couples, right? That is, if you charge $300 for a wedding, you have to do 10 weddings to get $3,000. But if you charge $600, you have to do half that. So, you want to think about that. Back to what I recommend for Julie, and that is, I don't see the need to change the pricing structure for the 50% retainer. I want those couples to commit to me. If I'm going to have a date on my calendar in 2027, a prime summer or fall weekend, they pay the retainer fee. That said, again, I have to think about, and sometimes I say to couples, I'm not booking 2027 yet unless you are comfortable paying my 2027 rate, which is, and I might quote them $100 more or $50 more. Okay, so consider that. Just think about your 2027 self. And I say this from experience because when I started in New Brunswick, when I moved here in 2018, and I didn't know anybody, and I teach this in my pro course, get those first few weddings under your belt locally any way you can. Now, don't undervalue yourself or underprice yourself because it's not a good precedent. But those first few weddings, so in this area, I had been very successful and was well known in Toronto, moved out here to the ocean. Nobody knew me. So I went from charging $800 a wedding in Toronto to $500. And I just got those weddings really quick. So it was $250 for the retainer. Well, I got to tell you, when I started to book, 2 years from now, yeah, sure. When 2020 came and I was driving out and doing those weddings, sometimes very far, for just the $250, 50% remaining, I felt like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I even put pants on for $250 drive to the rehearsal. So my 2020 self wasn't happy with what I had charged. I should have made those prices just for 2019 and then said, there'll be a 2020 rate. Are you comfortable paying with that? If not, please contact me next year, that kind of thing. I would not change from the 50% schedule. 50% retainer. Again, they're paying to retain you. They're paying for that space on your calendar with their name on it. That's what they're paying for. And then 4 to 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks before the day you have the workshop, you tell them, the process. And then, of course, 2 weeks before is when I reach out to my couple with the invoice for the 50% remaining fee. Sometimes it takes them a week to pay. And, we've had to do this a couple times with Jen. It's a week before your wedding now, because last week we sent you a week before the wedding. Please, I do not attend a wedding if I'm not paid yet. Okay, so I don't see the need to add extra admin to yourself or even for them, like 25%, 25. If they're booking you that far in advance, they can certainly save up the money. And you know that their photographer and their vendor and their caterer, they're paying 10x that easily. So, as officiants, don't feel like you're inconveniencing a couple. We're already quite cheap in terms of the wedding. I would say in terms of the full wedding cost. If you're a pro and they want you and they love what you offer, they'll pay the 50%. Couples do not balk at that in my case at all. So there you go. Let's see. Oh, Sam says, is your automated form system available in the program? So yeah, when you purchase Unboring Wedding Academy, you get instant access to your first ceremony of Officiantly. We did that because I want this to appeal to people who are thinking of going pro, people who say, I'm just doing this once for my goddaughter, never again. Well, the whole course training incorporates this. Every video shows, go into this, click here. Here's how it works. Here's how it functions. We're always updating it and upgrading it. We're just about to add an AI feature inside the ceremony script draft that only 5 members have access while we work out the kinks. But yes, you get access to a free ceremony. It's $179 for unlimited for a year. So think of it as like a software license, basically. You get to use it for as many ceremonies as you want for 1 year if you want 2 or more. So that's how that works. Again, go to unboringweddingacademy.com for more details on that. One more question I had here. Somebody asked me on YouTube, like, how do I get the rings to the couple? And I just want to reiterate again, because I just saw a video of a wonderful officiant, and to their credit, they very self-deprecatingly put it on Instagram. A video of them dropping the ring in the ceremony because it was the part for the ring exchange. They pulled it out and dropped it. And I just have I will not touch your rings policy. It's never failed me yet. You cannot fail if you do not touch the rings. I always say this is it absolves me of any risk of dropping your ring, losing your ring, getting sued for dropping it into a pond, which is a real story. The officiant got sued by the couple for dropping the ring. I just say, not only do I not want to touch it, because logistically I've got your binder, and this is what I saw in the video was, you got a binder, you got one hand, you got 2 rings. It's really hard. There's no reason to handle the rings at all, in my opinion. Again, I don't know exactly what was the circumstance in that video. Maybe it was just an elopement. But I would say in a wedding, get somebody else. Tell the couple, this is a great way to incorporate somebody else in your ceremony, which is why, inefficiently, I'll show you, you'll see when you go into Sarah and Dennis here, into the ceremony script draft, preloaded almost as a template. You will see when we get to the ring exchange, I always ask, in the ceremony wedding workshop area, who has the rings? And when they answer, that gets automatically plunked right in here. Connor is holding both rings. Sometimes it's 2 people, it'll be the best man and maid of honor. But here I say, Sarah and Dennis will now exchange rings. I give Connor the nod. Connor gives Dennis Sarah's ring. Dennis places the ring on Sarah's finger. Dennis resumes. Dennis, please repeat after me. Then Connor gives Sarah Dennis's ring. Sarah, okay, so the instructions are very clear there, laid out. They don't come up and stand like right in front of the couple. So this is something we practice in the rehearsal. I say stand at kind of like a 45-degree angle. So if it's best man takes 2 steps forward, marrier turns, you put it right in the hand. The best man does, whoever's holding the ring. They step back into their place, ring goes on, you repeat, just like here in the instructions. And then again, best man steps back to the same place that he was before. But I always say in the rehearsal, be conscious of keep the aisle clear, because that's where the photographer is typically, if they don't come right up, and they do sometimes, but usually they're standing in the aisle. We don't want to block. It's stagecraft. A wedding ceremony is stagecraft. We never want people turning their backs to the guests or that kind of thing, or blocking the view. And so it works in all those kinds of ways. You get another loved one. Sometimes it's the best man. Sometimes it's in a wedding recently, it was each mom had a ring or something like that. It gets more of their loved ones involved. And like I say, the best part between you and me, you don't have to touch it. You don't have to juggle. You don't have to risk dropping it. The only thing you have to remember is to check that so and so has the rings at the top of the ceremony, which is in the script in the officiant checks. That's one of the last things. Has anyone ever heard of a ring warming? I love ring warming, Sam. Basically, the two rings go down the line of parents and siblings and then comes back. Seems very hard to incorporate. Okay, I'm going to tell you this, Sam. With the very few minutes, it's been an hour already for the ring warming, and I think I've talked about this in a live. Uh, it can be done very badly, and I've seen it done very badly, where the officiant did not think ahead of how long it's going to take. The two rings go down the line of parents and siblings and then comes back. I've seen it done where it's the entire room. You definitely want to get the rings moving throughout the ceremony. So I've actually never seen it with just the parents and siblings. If I were to do, here's the prevailing principle for ring warming. You don't want to do it where the rings are moving through the people's hands and everybody else is watching, just watching it. I did a wedding like that where somebody came up and sang a special piece of music, but my goodness, they did not account for how long it would take for the rings to start at the back row and come all the way down while this musician, who was a friend of mine, again, I was a guest, so I knew everybody in the room basically. It was eternal. It was like people thought it would never. And so when it came to me, it was like hot potato. It's like everyone's so impatient. The point of a ring warming is to hold the ring, think some wishes, offer a silent prayer or best wishes of the couple, and then pass it along. But it was getting so long that by the time it was, time to come to the front, people were like, okay, this is enough. So what I do to prevent that is at the beginning of the ceremony, right off the top, before I tell the story, I say, later in this ceremony, they will exchange rings. But what we want to do now is the tradition of the warming of the rings. So at the back, and you have a lord of the rings, a keeper of the rings are going to come down. You say their names, like Sarah and Dennis. They're going to come down. So one ring does one side, one ring does the other side. And throughout the ceremony, you're going to say, give some wishes, etc. But that way, when you're telling the story and all the other things, the vows, the rings are moving through. And again, the Lord of the Rings, the keeper of the rings, we have a person in the aisle to kind of oversee that it is moving along. So I love that because you can look out and see that person getting closer and closer. It's more than enough time. Nobody feels rushed. And so this is where I'm saying that's the ideal way, because then they have the whole ceremony, everything. And by the time it's time for ring exchange, there they are. They're right there on the inside center aisle where they should be. Otherwise, people get really uncomfortable and weirded out by like how long this is taking. When they do get the ring, somebody's supposed to hold it, and meditate when it's like everyone's like, are we done yet? It's already been like 15 minutes. So if you're going to do this where it's moving along just a row or two, figure out how to get it started before the ring exchange time. Sometime, maybe coming out of the story. And this is what I would say. You might not even need to pad the ceremony. Coming out of the story before or during the vow, right before the vows, you can say they'll now exchange rings in a few moments. But in that time, we would like to do the warming of the rings while they say their vows. If they're reading their vows to each other, this is where maybe you would incorporate some sort of reading or something so that the family and friends can do that. But never make it the focus of everyone's attention, because it just kind of really goes bad. Okay, great question there. Friends, this has been amazing. It has been an hour. I told you that we would wrap it up in an hour because I don't want this to be onerous for you. It has been an amazing party. I love being back, and I love that so many of you engaged in this way. I got the questions answered that I had. Watching from CA, pouring rain, doing your fourth wedding this Saturday, first non-family. Hired. You've helped me so much. Thank you so much, Patty. I'm so thrilled to hear that. Mike says, I have a ring warming where the rings were brought up and started with the wedding party, and everybody had a chance to watch because we waited for the rings to finish with the wedding party. Okay. Again, I feel like that's really just for everybody to be watching somebody. I don't know. I feel like it's uncomfortable personally. I feel like if other things are happening while that's happening, that's great. But that was slightly awkward, even just for me here, and for you, I'm sure. Uh, Sarah says, I do the 2 sets of parents in a ring warming. Too many people is definitely hot potato. Yes, unless they have 10 minutes to do it. Then again, it's never failed me yet. Okay. This should be it. Thank you very much. I don't want to belabor the point. Hopefully, this was a helpful weekly wedding prep for you. You feel charged up. We've heard success stories. We have heard uh, people with questions for very busy weekends coming up. I know Mike has a busy day coming up. Love this. I can't wait to officiate at the Algonquin, my favorite venue this week. Thank you for your participation. If we didn't get to your question today, although I do think I got to everything, please send me an email, mark@unboringweddingacademy.com with, show question in the subject line, and I will address it here. Again, I get an avalanche of questions all week from different places, so I'm going to start answering those here as well, unless it's an emergency, like, Mark, help me log into the course. Then, of course, we reply right away. But this is a thrill. I absolutely look forward to every Thursday with you. I love seeing your journeys too. We have Rockin' Reverend Rhonda, who's now got herself a wedding venue. And those of you who I remember looking for weddings 6 months ago, and now you have so many weddings, it's an exciting time. We all experience wins and challenges, and sometimes we're down, sometimes we're up. We're here to do it together. Thank you so much. I look forward to many more. And again, unboringweddingacademy.com. If you are thinking of jumping into the course, getting access to Officiantly, joining these amazing members, come see us at Wedding MBA. I'm speaking, I'm hosting the room, I'm sponsoring the officiant track, I'm expoing on the floor, and doing dinner with you, hopefully, if the dang restaurant gets back to me and starts locking that down. Lots of good things to come. I'm so thrilled I'm on this journey with you. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Until next time, marry on.